Clooney assisted the International Criminal Court or ICC in preparing a request for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders.
George Clooney's wife Amal is taking on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and top Hamas leaders in a case that's turning the globe upside down. She's leading a legal battle at the International Criminal Court, pushing for justice and shaking the most powerful leaders. Israel and the U.S. are furious, and the backlash is exploding everywhere. Amal's fight has turned into a political firestorm, and the media can't stop dragging George into it. Tune in, because this case could rewrite history and put justice itself on trial. Amal Clooney's legal storm. Amal took center stage in a legal case that's setting the world on fire. We're talking about arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court, ICC, against some of the biggest names in politics and military leadership, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. She's also pushing for accountability on the Hamas side, making this a double-edged sword of controversy. If you think this is just another day at the office for Amal, think again. This case is like stepping into a minefield of international politics and deeply rooted conflicts. But what Amal is about to do next could either redefine the boundaries of justice or ignite a geopolitical firestorm that changes everything. The ICC's decision is creating shockwaves. Israeli officials are, unsurprisingly, furious. The Israeli foreign minister even called it a scandalous decision. And then there's U.S. President Joe Biden, who jumped in to say there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. This is big, like world leaders weighing in big. Amal's legal work is suddenly the hot topic in boardrooms and dinner tables everywhere. Let's not forget George Clooney in all of this. The media can't help but bring him into the picture, questioning his thoughts on Amal's legal maneuvers. He's always been the cool, collected Hollywood guy, but now people are speculating about what it's like for him to be married to someone who's essentially putting global leaders on trial. George isn't out there making statements about it, but that hasn't stopped the whispers about how their high-profile lives are meshing, or maybe not meshing, behind closed doors. Speaking of not meshing, rumors are flying about their relationship. The tabloids are having a field day suggesting that their demanding careers have them spending more time apart than together. George is off shooting movies and sipping Nespresso while Amal's jetting around the globe chasing justice. It's all very separate lives gossip, though no one's confirmed anything. Still, it adds fuel to the fire for those who love dissecting every move of a power couple. But let's shift back to the case. Amal's stepping into the heart of one of the most complicated and contentious conflicts in modern history. Her goal? Accountability, justice. Big words, right? But achieving them in a situation as tangled as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is easier said than done. It's putting her in the crosshairs of critics and supporters alike. The ICC's move has sparked a global debate. Is this a bold step toward justice, or is it opening a Pandora's box of political repercussions? Amal's not new to this game. She's made a name for herself taking on cases that most lawyers would shy away from. War crimes, crimes against humanity, she's seen it all. This case, though, it's on a whole other level. It's not just about legal principles, it's about geopolitics, power dynamics, and the fine line between justice and bias. The public can't seem to separate her professional work from her personal life. Everywhere you look, there's commentary about George and Amal. People can't resist the narrative of a glamorous Hollywood star and a brilliant human rights lawyer navigating this storm together. But while the public obsesses over their relationship, Amal's out here tackling some of the most significant issues on the planet. Priorities, right? What's fascinating is how Amal's work is reshaping perceptions of women in leadership. She's not just George Clooney's wife. She's a force of nature in her own right, challenging norms in a male-dominated field. Her involvement in this case is a reminder that women are breaking barriers and taking on roles that demand both courage and expertise. Love her or hate her, you can't ignore the impact she's making. The drama doesn't stop there. The ICC's actions have reignited debates about the role of international law. Critics are questioning whether the court's decisions are truly impartial or if they're influenced by political agendas. Supporters argue that someone has to hold powerful figures accountable. And in the middle of it all is Amal, carrying the weight of these arguments as she pushes forward. Amal's name is already etched into the annals of international law, but this case adds another layer to her legacy. Every legal document, every public reaction, and every media report builds the narrative of a woman who isn't afraid to rattle cages even when the stakes are sky high. She's operating in a world where moral clarity is rare and every decision comes with far-reaching consequences. Her courage, or audacity, depending on your viewpoint, is what sets her apart. The intersection of law and geopolitics is a tricky landscape. Amal's walking a tightrope, balancing the scales of justice while the world watches with bated breath. It's a role that few can handle, but she's proving once again that she's up for the challenge. Her career has always been about accountability, not just for individuals, but for systems and institutions that often operate without checks and balances. This case is just the latest example of her larger mission. The coverage around Amal's work often blurs the line between substance and spectacle. For every in-depth analysis of her legal strategy, there's an equal amount of focus on her wardrobe, her marriage, and her perfect life. It's a frustrating reality for a woman whose accomplishments stand on their own. Yet in some ways, this dual narrative keeps her in the public eye, amplifying her platform and the causes she champions. It's a double-edged sword that she wields with precision. The legal complexities of the ICC's actions cannot be overstated. This is not just about issuing arrest warrants, it's about setting a precedent for international justice. It's about sending a message that no one is above the law, even if they sit at the pinnacle of power. The stakes are enormous and the backlash is inevitable. Amal's role in this is both a reflection of her legal acumen and her willingness to take on the world's toughest cases. The criticism isn't limited to geopolitical leaders and legal scholars. Social media has turned into a battleground of opinions, with armchair analysts and everyday observers weighing in on the case. The polarized reactions range from admiration for Amal's courage to accusations of bias and overreach. This public scrutiny adds another layer of complexity to an already intricate situation. As the world watched, her unwavering pursuit of justice continued to defy expectations and provoke debate, struggling to keep it together. Despite the challenges, they recently celebrated 10 years of marriage. From their stunning Venetian wedding to their low-key family life in the English countryside, their journey has been anything but ordinary. Yet as they navigate this latest chapter, the question remains, is their love story strong enough to weather the storm? 10 years in, they have achieved what many couples dream of, a family, a shared purpose, and a legacy. However, the road ahead looks anything but smooth. Balancing two demanding careers, raising children, and maintaining their privacy in an unforgiving public eye is no small feat. Whether their marriage is on the rocks or just hitting a rough patch, one thing's for sure: the world is watching. And if there's one lesson to take away from their saga, it's that even the most glamorous couples face the grind of real life. The question isn't whether they'll survive the spotlight, it's whether they can survive each other. Their marriage, a Hollywood heartthrob and a powerhouse human rights lawyer. Sounds like the ultimate dream team, right? They've got the looks, the brains, and the charm, but don't be fooled. Behind the magazine covers and picture-perfect smiles lies a reality far messier than anyone would expect. Think their lives are all glamorous parties and dreamy getaways? Guess again. This story isn't about their wedding, no Venice gondola fairy tales here. It's about the pressure cooker they live in, one that'll leave you questioning if fame and success are really worth the cost. From the moment they went public with their relationship, they became everyone's favorite obsession. Hollywood royalty meets international law hero. Their 2014 wedding wasn't just a big deal, it was the event. Fancy outfits, star-studded guest list, Venice as the backdrop. It screamed perfection. But while we were busy swooning over their love story, the real challenges were just beginning. Imagine trying to juggle two high-stakes careers, raise twins, and keep your sanity while the world watches your every move. Sounds exhausting, doesn't it? Let's start with him. He's been famous for ages thanks to roles like Dr. Doug Ross on ER and a string of blockbuster movies. Add his tequila empire, ever heard of Casamigos, and his activism, and you've got a guy who's always in the spotlight. But fame isn't all red carpets and fan mail. He's talked about how exhausting it is to keep up the charming, cool guy persona. Imagine being expected to be on all the time. Walking through a park? Forget it. Paparazzi are lurking. Dinner out with the family? Cue strangers snapping photos. Even your downtime becomes a performance. Then there's Amal. Before she met him, she was already a big deal in her own right, tackling war crimes, representing political prisoners, and making headlines for her legal smarts. She wasn't chasing fame, it found her. Suddenly, every outfit she wore, every case she took on, and every word she said was under a microscope. For someone used to focusing on serious global issues, becoming a tabloid darling was probably the last thing she wanted. Now, she's not just a lawyer, she's a celebrity, whether she likes it or not. And their kids? Alexander and Ella might be the luckiest twins alive, but they're growing up in a world where normal doesn't exist. Bodyguards, private jets, and a fortress-like home life might keep them safe, but it also isolates them. Amal and her husband are trying to shield their kids from the craziness of fame, but how do you give your children a normal childhood when the world won't stop watching? Even their so-called escapes aren't really escapes. Their villa in Lake Como, a place that should scream peaceful retreat, has become a hotspot for nosy photographers and drone enthusiasts. Imagine waking up to strangers' cameras flying over your morning coffee. Not exactly the dreamy hideaway they'd hoped for. The careers don't help either. Amal's work takes her to some of the world's most dangerous places. She's facing down dictators, defending human rights, and getting caught in political crossfires. It's not just stressful, it's life-threatening. He isn't exactly taking it easy either. Between acting, directing, and managing billion-dollar ventures, he's stretched thin. Their schedules rarely sync up, and even with promises to never spend more than a week apart, real life doesn't always cooperate. But the toughest part? The relentless expectations. They're seen as a power couple who've got it all, which leaves zero room for mistakes. Every move they make is analyzed. Amal's groundbreaking legal cases? People comment on her shoes instead. His philanthropy? Some call it PR. Even their marriage isn't safe from speculation. Are they fighting? Are they too busy for each other? When's the divorce announcement coming? The world loves a perfect couple almost as much as it loves tearing them down. Despite all this, they're making it work, kind of. They've got strategies to cope, like humor, his secret weapon, and purpose-driven work, Amal's saving grace. When they're not jet-setting across the globe, they're trying to create small pockets of normalcy. Playing with their kids, relaxing at home, or just finding quiet moments to reconnect. Those little things matter when your life feels like a three-ring circus. The truth? They're doing their best to keep the fairy tale alive, but it's not easy. Fame might look glamorous from the outside, but the inside story is far more complicated. Balancing careers, family, and the never-ending demands of the spotlight is a Herculean task. Yet through all the chaos, they've managed to keep moving forward. Not because they're perfect, but because they're determined to make it work. And honestly, that's more impressive than any wedding in Venice. To truly grasp what they're up against, it helps to dig even deeper into their lives. Amal's work often involves traveling to conflict zones and facing some of the darkest aspects of humanity. She stood her ground in courtrooms around the world, defending the voiceless and shining a light on injustices that most people would rather ignore. But doing this comes with a heavy cost, both emotionally and physically. Each case she takes on requires an enormous amount of preparation, research, and emotional resilience. The stakes are always high, and the outcomes can impact countless lives. It's no wonder that the weight of her work occasionally seeps into her personal life, leaving her drained and needing time to recharge. Even as they tackle challenges on different fronts, the divide between their two worlds seems to grow. Navigating two worlds. For him, the challenges are different but no less intense. His roles in Hollywood have evolved over the years, moving from acting to directing and producing. Each of these comes with its own set of stresses. Being in charge of a film, from funding to casting to post-production, is a job that demands constant attention to detail and a never-ending series of decisions. Then there's his tequila empire. While selling Casamigos was a lucrative move, staying involved in the brand's promotion means his schedule is packed with meetings, events, and public appearances. All of this makes finding time for family and relaxation an ongoing struggle. Through it all, they remain committed to their shared mission of making the world a better place. Their philanthropic efforts are a natural extension of their respective careers. The Clooney Foundation for Justice is a prime example of how they've channeled their influence into meaningful action. Whether it's advocating for refugees, funding education initiatives, or supporting victims of war crimes, their work is a powerful reminder of the good that can come from leveraging fame for a cause. However, the demands of running a foundation while juggling their already packed schedules only add to the complexity of their lives. It's easy to look at them and think they have it all. The truth is far more nuanced. They're navigating a path that few could manage, balancing their extraordinary careers with the equally extraordinary challenges that come with being one of the most recognizable couples in the world. Their journey isn't just about love and success, it's about resilience, compromise, and the determination to stay true to themselves and each other. Fame may be a double-edged sword, but for them, it's also a tool they've learned to wield with grace and purpose. What makes their story compelling isn't the glamour of the accolades. It's the way they confront the obstacles that come their way, refusing to let the pressures of fame define them. Whether they're taking on global injustices or simply carving out time to be with their children, their ability to rise above the chaos is what truly sets them apart. Their lives may be far from ordinary, but their commitment to each other and the causes they care about is something we can all admire. It's a reminder that even in the most dazzling lives, the human struggle is always present, and the effort to overcome it is what makes the story worth telling. Still, there's a lot more that goes into their lives than meets the eye. Let's delve into Amal's legal work, a career filled with high-stakes drama and profound impact. Representing Yazidi survivors against ISIS leaders, defending journalists wrongfully imprisoned, and tackling corruption on an international scale are just a few of her accomplishments. Each case involves untold hours of preparation. She meets with survivors, pores over mountains of evidence, and presents arguments that can shift global narratives. These are not courtroom dramas, but life-and-death situations. Every win is a step toward justice, but the emotional cost is immense. Her husband, too, grapples with his own set of high-pressure projects. As a director, he's a perfectionist, pushing himself and his teams to create films that resonate. He's not content to churn out movies for box office returns, he aims for stories that matter. Whether it's a political thriller or a heartfelt drama, the weight of delivering meaningful cinema sits squarely on his shoulders. Add to that his advocacy for Darfur and efforts to combat corruption in South Sudan, and you'll see a man who's much more than his Hollywood persona. And then there are the challenges of parenting. Alexander and Ella may have famous parents, but Amal and her husband are determined to keep them grounded. They're raising their children with an awareness of privilege, but also an understanding of responsibility. He has said he wants his kids to be compassionate and curious, not entitled. It's a fine line to walk, especially when your family lives in the public eye. The couple has made tough choices to protect their children, including legal actions against tabloids that overstep boundaries. Their relationship, too, requires constant work. Between Amal's travel to war zones and his time on set, maintaining a connection takes effort. They've implemented rules, like making time to talk every day, to ensure they stay close despite physical distance. It's not always easy, but their commitment to each other has been unwavering. They've built a partnership based on mutual respect, shared values, and an ability to laugh even in tough times. As they continue to navigate this life of extremes, one thing remains clear: their resilience. Amal and her husband embody the idea that challenges, no matter how daunting, can be met head-on with grace, determination, and a willingness to adapt. Their story is a testament to what's possible when love, purpose, and hard work come together. A story that reminds us all to keep striving, even when the odds seem insurmountable. Their day-to-day lives are a fascinating balance of extremes. He, despite his fame, often seeks refuge in routine. He has a deep appreciation for the simple joys of life: a quiet morning coffee, an afternoon spent tinkering with scripts, or even attempting to cook for the family. He has remarked in interviews how much he values the grounding force of domestic life, a stark contrast to the chaos of Hollywood and the philanthropic events he attends. Amal, on the other hand, finds solace in intellectual pursuits. Her commitment to justice and equality drives her even when she's faced with staggering odds. They've both admitted that their differing worlds, Hollywood and human rights law, can feel like galaxies apart, but that's where their strength lies. It's in the willingness to bridge those worlds that their partnership flourishes. Beyond their careers, the couple is known for their incredible hospitality. They've opened their homes to refugees and activists, providing both physical and moral support to those who need it most. For him, this is an extension of his activism. For Amal, it's a reflection of her deep-seated values. Even their approach to raising Alexander and Ella reflects a careful balance of privilege and responsibility. While the twins are growing up in a world filled with unimaginable luxuries, their parents are keenly aware of the importance of instilling humility and kindness. He often jokes about how he's teaching his kids to prank each other, a nod to his well-known sense of humor, but there's a deeper lesson there. Humor, he believes, is a way to stay grounded and connected in a life that often feels surreal. It's clear that their journey is far from a fairy tale. Their story is one of resilience, adaptability, and an unwavering commitment to each other and the causes they hold dear. Whether they're navigating the pressures of fame, advocating for justice, or simply enjoying a family dinner away from the spotlight, they prove that true partnership is about facing life's complexities together, with grace, humor, and a shared determination to make the world a better place. Are love and ambition a recipe for greatness or disaster? Share your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more compelling stories like this one.